The 1971 Little League World Series.
Lloyd McLendon, pitch.
You had 5 at-bats, hit 5 home runs, and then were intentionally walked for the rest of the event.
Do you think they're going to walk you today?
Yeah, definitely.
I was 12 years old, and I didn't really understand why did not allow me to hit. One thing in particular I really remember was the press conference before the championship game against Taiwan. They asked their manager, would you pitch to McLendon? And they said, yeah, we would definitely pitch to him because if we walked him, we would go home with disgrace. We would rather lose the game than be disgraced and go back home. Well, I hit a 3-run homer and I got walked the next 4 times up.
And welcome to the MLB Network Podcast, presented by the all-star lineup of Chevy trucks. I'm your host, Matt Vasgersian, and tonight in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, the Mets and the Mariners get together for the annual Little League Classic, and it's always such a good event when the kids collide with the big league stars. A lot of attention given to this event for all the right reasons. It's one of the jewels on the Major League Baseball calendar, and to celebrate the event, we have booked the absolute perfect guest. A guy who spent his lifetime in baseball, as a minor league player, of course, as a major league player, major league coach, major league manager, and before all that, a Little League World Series legend. Lloyd McLendon joins us on the podcast. Lloyd, good to see you.
Hi, Matt. Good to see you, too.
For folks who are unfamiliar with your career before you got to the big leagues, of course, a lifetime riding the buses, and we'll get to a couple of those bus rides in a minute. The 1971 Little League World Series, where you had 5 at-bats, hit 5 home runs, and then were intentionally walked for the rest of the event. It was the Barry Bonds treatment before Barry Bonds. To the degree that you can remember 1971, Lloyd, tell our viewers and listeners about what had to have been a magic time for you.
Man, you date me. You date me. I tell you what, it was a magical time for us. You really live in a fairy tale. Every swing I took was going out of the ballpark, and of course, then I was intentionally walked all the rest of the times. But what a great time, great memories, and we had a ball doing it.
I mean, you're a kid, right? You're 10, 11, 12 years old at the time. I can't imagine what that would do to the ego of a young man. You had to feel like you were absolutely invincible at that point in your life.
You know, I guess I was blessed. I had parents that, made sure that we were always even keeled. And my dad used to always tell us, don't ever get bigger than your raisins, and it made a lot of sense. And it kept us pretty even for the most part. But that moment, living in that moment, it was really, really, it was an out of body experience, really. Everything I touched went out of the ballpark.
I mean, we're looking at some of the video here. You're going Oppo. They had no answer for you in the Little League World Series in 1971. I mean, the video is fun too. When you watch this, Lloyd, if this were today and there were a kid doing what you did back then, he'd be on every social media platform. He'd be everywhere, getting super exposed. Do you think the times kind of saved you from that experience?
I would say yes. I was well protected. I wasn't overexposed from any of those things because that can get out of hand, and it can really kind of misdirect you a little bit. But I was very fortunate to have parents and coaches that made sure that we were well protected and we were able to be kids at that time.
Well, I think that's a message that plays for today's audience as well, because the coverage and the exposure that these kids are getting at the age of 10 and 12 can be powerful, can be damaging in some cases, and I guess it's got to start at home to prevent that from happening.
It really does. I do a lot of speaking to a lot of kids around the area about don't get outside of yourself. Enjoy what you're doing. And we used to talk about the Little League pledge. It's not whether or not you win; it's how you play the game. And I think to a certain extent that's gotten out of hand in today's society, and a lot of these kids and parents as well. They get caught up in the limelight, and unfortunately, a lot of parents want to live their kids' lives for them, and that can be disastrous at times.
Mm-hmm. It's intoxicating for sure. I do want to ask you one other question about that experience, though, because the 5 homers in 5 plate appearances, and then you walked the rest of the tournament. Do you remember what you were processing in your mind at that point? Was it, man, I wish I could just have one more pitch to hit? Or was it satisfaction knowing that they were so afraid of you at the time?
Well, I was 12 years old, and I didn't really understand the intentions of other managers. And I can remember asking my manager, why did not allow me to hit? They're sending me to first base. And one thing in particular I really remember was the press conference before the championship game against Taiwan. And their manager, they asked their manager, would you pitch to McLendon? And they said, yeah, we would definitely pitch to him because if we walked him, we would go home with disgrace. We would rather lose the game than be disgraced and go back home. Well, I hit a 3-run homer and I got walked the next 4 times up.
Yeah, disgrace. They wanted to win at that point.
Yeah.
You mentioned the pitching part of this because not only were you bonds before bonds in receiving the intentional walk to 4 fingers every time you went up there, you were Ohtani before Ohtani because you were your team's best pitcher as well. At what point in your baseball journey, Lloyd, did you forget about pitching and just focus on swinging the bat?
When I got to be 14 or 15 and my neck started snapping, guys hitting balls out of the ballpark. I said, this pitch is not going to work. I'll stick to catching.
Oh, these images are great. I mean, we could do the minor league thing and the amateur thing all day, but we're going to take a break. And when we come back, it's on to Lloyd McLendon's big league journey. Drafted in 1980 by the Mets, and he lived almost a Zelig, Forrest Gump-like life. And all the legendary figures that he was around in his baseball journey. We're going to visit more with legendary Lloyd McLendon, coming up next.
Just like diehard fans of Major League Baseball, Chevy trucks show up no matter what. Because the Chevy lineup of trucks has always stepped up to the plate and helped hard-working people get things done. Visit Chevy.com/trucks to find the truck that can take you from the ballpark to the work site and back again.
And we're back with Lloyd McLendon on the MLB Network Podcast. And Lloyd, we promised this conversation. I can't wait to hear the story. You're drafted by the Mets in 1980. And before you get your big league career started, you're riding the buses in the minors. And I want to ask you about a particular New Year's Eve bus ride in the Mexican Winter League where some very eventful things went down. Tell us about that.
Oh, my God. How did you find out about that?
Our producers are good, man.
They're real good. I tell you what, it was pretty terrifying. I'll never forget this. Our bus stopped. I think we were leaving Hermosillo. No, we were on our way to Hermosillo. We got stopped at one of those stops in the middle of the desert. And a couple of my teammates spoke fluent Spanish. And they could hear them talking to the guards, and they're telling them to take all the Americans off the bus because we're locking them up because they didn't have our proper papers. And he's telling me this. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. He said, no, they're going to lock us up. And they got us off the bus. And I guess what they were trying to do, they wanted $1,000 per head for each player. And I think they eventually, haggled with them and talked to him, and they got him down to like $300 a head, and they let us get back on the bus, and we took off. Well, long story short, I told my team, when we get back across this border, I am never coming back to play baseball over here.
Did you stay true to your word? Did you ever go back to the Mexican Winter Leagues? That was it,
never.
Huh? Shakedown. They wanted $1,000 a player. That's a lot of
They
dough.
wanted $1,000 a player, yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
We're talking about 1980-81 money. That's
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
it was pretty scary.
I would imagine. A couple years later, you are traded to Cincinnati, as a part of the compensation that brought Tom Seaver over as a return piece, which is an amazing experience to be a part of, I'm sure, because Tom Seaver was at the peak of his powers at the time. You end up playing for Pete Rose with the Reds.
I did, yeah.
And you start your career there. What was it like playing for Pete?
It was awesome. Pete was a player's manager, man. He understood the grind. He understood what we were going through. And really, I mean, he taught me so much about how to hit, how to pinch hit, how to prepare and get ready for games. He was just an unbelievable person.
So was he the guy that kind of opened your eyes to the value of being more of a utility player, a role player?
Yeah, you know, he did. Circumstances at that time, I don't know if you remember, Matt, the rosters went from 25 to 24. And Pete said, I needed a guy that could catch. Obviously, I was a catcher. And could play the corners and play the corner outfields. And I fit that bill perfectly, and it worked out well for me.
Wow. I mean, the idea that you played a long time in the big leagues, and that was kind of the start of it, I guess, you know, one of those things you have Pete to thank for. I mean, you played with so many impactful players in your big league career, including a giant that we just lost in Ryne Sandberg when you got over to the Chicago Cubs. Talk about those experiences as a Cub.
Yeah, you know, the Crusher, that was my man. He took me under his wing. He called me the Masher. I called him the Crusher. And we used to go to Bulls games together. What a great teammate, and what a loss for baseball. We're all saddened in this region, obviously, but Rhino was just unbelievable. I'll tell you a quick story about Rhino, and it's a really funny one. You know, Rhino had the airless streak going, and we went to Houston, and Mark Grace had got hurt, and I think I played like 40 games in a row at first base. And Rhino's, you know, he's throwing some balls in the dirt, and I'm picking them, and I'm like, whew, Rhino, you're making this tough. And we go to Houston. Rhino goes in the hole, and he throws the ball over to first. I got the night off. I finally got a night off. Rhino throws the ball over to first, and Gracie didn't pick it. And they flashed E4. I mean, this is going on almost 3 years of no errors for Ryne Sandberg. And Rhino comes in the dugout, and he sits next to me, and you know, nobody in the dugout knew what to say, and he just said, Masher. I said, yeah. He said, I know you're glad you weren't playing first. I said, you're not kidding. You're not kidding me.
Was it on you?
Yeah, but that was Rhino. He had that sense of humor that could make everybody laugh. And as soon as he said it, everybody in the dugout just started laughing and just relaxed, you know.
You know, your career, Lloyd, because you intersected at such a cherished time for somebody my age. I'm 58, right? So I remember you as a player, as a coach, as a manager, and I'm curious because the game was so different in the 1980s and early 90s when you played to when you coached. And you had such a great run, not only as a manager, but as a hitting coach. I mean, you had a handful of batting champs when you were in Detroit. Yeah. Did players of that era, the recent era, did they understand what you guys dealt with in the 1980s? AstroTurf, non-luxurious travel. Did they get the difference?
I'm not quite sure. I mean, they didn't understand the type of AstroTurf that we played on with the concrete underneath, you know. That was pretty tough. The grind, the travel, obviously it was a lot better as the years went on. But now I will say this about the guys that I managed. I was very, very fortunate. I managed some superstars that were really good people, from Felix Hernandez to Robinson Cano, Cabrera, Ordonez, Pudge Rodriguez, you name it. These guys were just fabulous people, and they understood the grind, they understood the work that we put in, and they appreciated what we did.
I want to get into that a little bit more after a break. We're going to talk about your managerial career, some of your managerial influences, and some of the classroom stuff that may have been passed down from some of the guys that you played for. We're going to take a break. More with Lloyd McLendon on the MLB Network Podcast right after this.
The farmer's dog thinks about your dog every day because their goal is to help them live a long, healthy life. Their food is developed by a team of board-certified vet nutritionists, Unlike most pet foods, the farmer's dog is made to human-grade standards. It's gently cooked without the ultra-processing and portioned for easy weight management. Because sure, good ingredients matter, but the best recipes call for so much more. Get 50% off your first box of the official pet food of Major League Baseball at thefarmersdog.com/MLB. That's thefarmersdog.com/MLB.
Back with Lloyd McLendon on the MLB Network Podcast. We talked about some of the minor league days, the amateur days, some of the playing days, and I want to get knee-deep into the managerial run here, Lloyd. Nearly a decade skippering in Major League Baseball. We talked about your playing for Pete Rose. I would imagine he was a managerial influence to a degree. You played for Don Zimmer with the Cubs. What kind of influence was Zim on how you managed when you got the jobs?
Well, Popeye was... I'm not sure today's players could play for Popeye. Popeye, he's very lovable, but he could be tough. If he said the bus left at 8 o'clock and you tried to be there at 8, you were left behind because the bus left at 7:55. That was the type of guy he was. I can remember him leaving our general manager one day on our way to the airport because the bus was leaving 1 hour after the game, and I guess he was still up in the office, and Zim said, "Shut the door, let's go." We took off, but Zim was what a lovable guy. He was tough, but he loved you if you played hard for him and you performed for him. He was just a tremendous, tremendous guy.
Boy, not really concerned with playing the politics if he left his boss behind. That's admirable. He was drawing hard lines in the sand there.
Well, he sent the message. If he leaves his boss behind, you know what's going to happen to us. So
got it.
We made sure we're on that bus.
When you look back at your managerial career, and it spanned a few different uniforms, who would you say was the most impactful person that you had channeled in those days, if anybody?
Well, I mean, that's easy. I spent so much time with Jim Leland. I played for him, coached for him. He was such an influence on my career, and he taught me so much about the game and how to go about your business, how to treat people. And without a doubt, he's probably the most influential baseball person in my life.
There's some pretty incredible video that we've seen a number of times, and I think you're a bit player in this thing, Lloyd, where Jim is getting into it with Barry Bonds. And I think it's at Pirates camp one year, and there was some kind of a disagreement. This made the rounds at the time, and we still kick it around today. The story of a young manager who really wasn't that established yet as a major league winner going jaw to jaw with a superstar. What kind of experience was this for you as a teammate witnessing it?
Well, I think it spoke a lot about who Jim was and what he expected from us and the respect that he commanded. He never really wanted to be in a situation where he could overpower any one player, but the players had to understand that there was a line that you didn't cross. And I think that moment was very defining for Jim. And quite frankly, for all of us, we knew that he meant business. And I think from that point on, our franchise kind of took off. And we started moving in the right direction.
There's a kind of a renaissance, at least it feels like there's a bit of a renaissance the last few years for veteran baseball people to get back into managerial roles. And, these trade winds shift. There's times when it's all the young analytic guys that came out of the factories, and now, with the reemergence of some guys like Bruce Bochy and Dusty comes back and wins a World Series. Do you ever think about taking another bite at the apple? Is that something you'd do?
Oh, I'm waiting by the phone. There's only so much golf you can play.
Okay, there it is.
I'm hoping I get another opportunity. I think, I have a lot to offer, but listen, baseball is such that, you just got to wait your turn. I was 9 years between managerial positions, my last two jobs. But I was very patient, and I went about my business in the right way, and I'll still be patient. I'm still a young man, and I'm in great shape, and The handicap is down to a 4, but I think it's time to get back out there.
Yeah, it's low enough. To your point, we're rooting for that, and I know that sometimes when it's not there, you just take it. And I gotta get you to June of 2001 because I was in the booth calling this game for the Brewers at the time when that very famous play that wasn't called properly at first base took place, and Pirates manager Lloyd McLendon came out to argue his case, took the first base bag out of the ground, and took it with you in the dugout. And I believe your line, Lloyd, you and I have talked about this, correct me if I'm wrong, your line to the umpire was, if you're not going to use this, I'm taking it with me. Is that how it went down?
That's correct. Yeah.
It's so good. This is among my favorite things. I think it was a Jason Kendall play, and the call was botched. And there you go. There it is.
Yeah. Matt, back then, I would tell my players all the time, look, when we play this game, give me everything you got, and I'll give you everything I got. That's all we can ask of each other. When we show up, play the game like there's a little kid in the stands, and this is going to be his last game that he ever sees, and he wants to remember you at your best. And I think my players did that. We were outmanned a lot of times in those Pittsburgh teams, but nobody could ever say that we didn't play hard and we went about our business in the right way.
Lloyd, we appreciate the visit. Thanks for coming by on the podcast. We're fans of yours, man, and thanks for some time and some terrific recall on some notable baseball stuff on the podcast with us today.
Well, I'm definitely a fan of yours, man. I watch you every day, and you guys are good. Tell Harold I said hello.
I will. Right, I will. He's downstairs making stuff up as we speak.
All right.
Thanks, Lloyd. Thanks for watching the MLB Network Podcast.
All right.